Peu d'hommes auront autant
Few
façonné la
men
destinée du XXe
influenced so
siècle
much
que
the
Lech Walesa,
20th century as much as Lech Walesa,
l'ancien fondateur de
the
Solidarité,
former
l'ancien
founder of
ouvrier des
Solidarność,
chantiers
the
navals de
former
Gdansk,
employee
l'ancien
of the
président de la République polonaise,
shipyards in
est à
Gdansk,
Paris.
the former
Il
president of
participe au
Poland.
9e
He is here
sommet
now in
des prix
Paris.
Nobel de la paix,
He's
lui-même
taking
obtenu
part
le prix
in the
Nobel
conference
en
of the Nobel Prize.
1983.
He got the
Il y a
Nobel Prize for
25 ans.
Peace
C'est
25 years
l'invité
ago. He is the guest
d'entretien
of the
aujourd'hui. Bonjour, Monsieur
interview.
Walesa, et merci d'être
Hello,
sur
Mr.
France
Walesa.
24.
Thank you for being with us.
Well, I'm pleased to be here, but if I have any merit, it's largely because the French people were in full solidarity with us.
Of course, it's an event that was really important for France. It was over 25 years ago since you got the Nobel Prize for Peace over 25 years ago. It seems to be an eternity. Why or what for are you struggling today?
Well, the problem today is that great victory at that time, a victory won by all of us working together, resulted in the end of an era of division among bloc systems and so on. It opened up a window of opportunity for the unity of Germany, of Europe, and of globalization. And now we are noticing that all of these wonderful processes could be wonderful if we were to come up with programs and structures that would fit the times, because those programs and structures of that time, they were appropriate for that era, which is now finished. And until such time as we change them, we'll be in a marasm.
Does it mean to say that you're sometimes concerned by the way the globalization, the economic globalization is turning?
Of course, I'm concerned. But how can we even talk about globalization when there isn't some place, some office with four walls, where a few people would sit down and come up with some inventive ideas as to how all of this is to work? For the time being, life is pushing us forward, events are leading us by the nose, but we're not sure that it's in the right direction. In this period of information technology, a few people need to sit down and decide what should be unity in Europe, what should diversity look like, what programs and structures could achieve that. Until that happens, I mean, we're just following old mechanisms.
So you believe in the government because those in favor of globalization said that the interest is that there is no need for organization. It will self-regulate.
Well, no, I don't think you can put it that way. We want, in many cases, to keep things as they are. We don't want our freedoms to be limited. We all have different cultures, different experiences. I mean, we want to leave that in place. We want to preserve it. But there are some things that could be brought under the umbrella of globalization. For instance, environmental protection. If we don't put that under global control, then some country like North Korea or Belarus will just blow us all up. I mean, we cannot accept that someone else would destroy us or could destroy us. And so we must contribute to achieving those objectives of global control with respect to certain points. And we need to sit down somewhere and talk about it. Because up to now, we haven't done that. Up until the end of the 20th century, we were pushed, we were driven by events. There were wars, there were cataclysms, there were revolutions, and so we would react to that. But now, what we need is to anticipate events. With computers, with simulation, there are many things that we could anticipate, prepare for, and do things less expensively and more quickly.
Of course, you talked about environment, and then, if I got it clear, about the proliferation of nuclear armament, about global warming. It's interesting because your country is often pointed at saying that it doesn't do enough to reduce its release of CO2.
Yes, that's true. Well, it's true, but at the same time it's not true. The problem is that we, in fact, have done more than anyone else in this respect, but we haven't stopped being a coal-based country and economy. If our main fuel is coal, despite the fact that we have limited our use of it more than anyone else, but at the same time we continue to have more coal than anyone else, and that's where the misunderstanding lies. But I think we'll manage to explain that to our partners. But when it comes to this global issue of climate warming and so on, I don't really agree with the whole debate. Because, we look around us, we see how we've polluted our rivers, our ponds, our immediate environment. Yes, we have sullied it, we've polluted it, and much can be improved in this respect. But to jump to the global issue and try to correct things there, no, let's leave it up to the good Lord. Let us put order into our own backyards, where we see where we have polluted things. I mean, to go up to the level of the planet right away, no, let's leave that alone and do what we can in our own backyard.
But if everyone makes his part, it will improve the life of everybody, before talking about the good Lord.
Well, yes, let's correct, let's improve, but let's do it where we can. Let's use less waste, generate less waste, build ecological buildings, use less energy, clean up our waterways, but let's not start thinking in galactic terms. I mean, we're so tiny that it would be an effort and work in vain.
This means that Poland will request for some more time before being at the same level than other industrialized countries, right?
Let's put it this way. The European Union is a single state. There's solidarity. We're highly dependent on coal, but we have a lot of coal. We want to move over to something else, but we don't know how to. We can't do it right away. We don't have the resources to do it. We very much want to do it. Let the coal remain in the ground where the good Lord put it. But we don't have the resources. It's not that we don't want to do it. We very much want to do it. But we had so much coal that we based our economy on coal. And now, in just one day, or even in 10 years, we can't turn that around completely because we don't have the resources to do that. If you help us to do it, if you help us to move over to something else, then of course we will.
You, Lech Walesa, you're one of the major symbols of the struggle against the communism, totalitarianism. Would you say today that capitalism is undergoing a crisis like the one of the communism previously?
Well, we've always been told, by some, that you have to fight the whites, you have to fight the blacks. So I added the reds. And now, insofar as the systems are concerned, as long as there was the rivalry between communism and capitalism, they counterbalanced, disciplined, controlled one another, and it more or less worked. But when communism fell, we suddenly started to see the shortcomings of capitalism. The shortcomings of capitalism were revealed in the absence of the counterbalancing power. For the time being, there is no third way. But we have to start to think about how we can improve the parameters. There are various proposals in this respect. Some are suggesting that we strengthen the social sphere. My response is, oh, no, that's not the way to go, even though I'm a trade unionist, or I was originally a trade unionist. I would rather say, let's increase the number of capitalists. In this century, we ought to have 3 times more capitalists than before, and that will result in strengthening the social sphere. Those capitalists acting capitalistically will strengthen the social sphere, but they'll do it in accordance with Marco rules in a controlled way, and not with the state imposing something in the social sphere. So the same result, but achieved a different way.
Some days ago, you met the Dalai Lama with President Sarkozy. Dalai Lama is also Nobel Prize for Peace. Is there any link between his struggle and your struggle?
Well, yes, there is some link, but in a different sense. I mean, here we are building European unity. Tomorrow we will have to, not because we want to, but we will have to because of progress in certain respects. We'll have to improve and work on globalization, and globalization without China is impossible. But the Chinese have different yardsticks, different measures, a different yardstick of human rights. They have a different culture. And so we have to adapt to one another. We have to adapt to... No, not accept, but adapt. I mean, there are some things they don't want, things in China that we don't want. For instance, we don't want China to tell President Sarkozy or me with whom I am to meet, whom I'm to speak to. I mean, they're offended because your president met the Dalai Lama, or they're offended with me because I facilitated that meeting. I mean, what kind of culture is that? I had always so much respect for Chinese culture. What great achievements. I never thought that they would be so incorrect, so improper, that they would interfere in our own private business and tell us with whom we are to meet. I don't want to have anything to do with a culture like that. Politics is politics. We can do certain things together, disagree on some points, agree on others. But for someone to tell me with whom I'm to speak, whom I'm to receive, that's just not right. It's not correct. And those are aspects of China's culture that we must improve. And that's where the link comes in with the Dalai Lama. That's a way to improve Chinese culture.
And Russia, Mr. Walesa, can Russia turn into an ally?
Well, let us not forget that Russia was a superpower. They lost that status, at least with respect to some areas, and every now and then they're not happy and they grumble a little bit, expressions of discontent and so on. But at the same time, there are many more people in the Russian Federation than there were before who understand that the world must be built on the basis of democracy and freedom and not on conquest, military action and wars. And many people understand that, and they're working towards that end. But at the same time, there are some people who don't understand that, and they would want things to be as they were before. But let's take care of our own backyard when it comes to the Russian Federation. When it's democratizing, when it's moving away from hegemony, we cooperate, we support them. But if Russia forgets about that, if they want to engage in hegemonistic approaches, then we keep our distance.
Mr. Walesa, that's the end of our meeting. Thank you for being with us on France 24 and have a nice day in Paris.